Meristematic tissues are those tissues having the cells which show continuous division and they are present in specialized regions. Permanent tissues are those tissues which contains the cells which have stopped undergoing the cell division. With the stop undergoing cell division, they mature and perform a specific function. So first we'll study about in detail. First we'll study in detail about the meristematic tissue. So meristematic tissues are divided into primary meristem and secondary meristem. Okay, primary meristems are those meristems which are present in the early life of the plant body, which are useful for the primary plant body structure. Okay, these meristems are present in the early life of the plant body, or which is useful for the formation of the primary plant body. Secondary meristems are present in the matured plant body, or already all the parts are developed. After that, they again form these secondary structures. So we'll study in detail. Okay, these primary meristems are of two types. Apical meristem. Apical meristems are those meristems which are present at the apex of the root or the stem. Root apical meristem, and shoot apical meristem. Okay, shoot apical meristem. Okay, these are present at the apex and which are useful for the formation of the new root, for elongation of the root, for the elongation of the stem. Okay, then another one is there, which is nothing but the intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem is present in the mature parts of the plant body. The plant body is in early life only. In the early life of the plant body, in the mature parts, this intercalary meristem is present. So apical meristem, intercalary meristem are primary meristems. Primary meristems, they appear early in life of a plant body and contribute to the formation of the primary plant body. That is about the primary meristem. Coming on to secondary meristem. Secondary meristems are those which are present in the mature regions of the root and the shoot. They are present in the mature regions of root and shoot. Okay, they are useful for the secondary growth. Okay, like for example, fascicular vascular cambium, interfascicular cambium, core cambium, like that. Okay, they are mainly particularly that produce the woody axis and appear later than the primary meristem. So they are secondary meristem or lateral meristems or lateral meristems. Okay, they are nothing but examples of secondary meristems are fascicular vascular cambium, interfascicular vascular cambium. Okay. Then cork cambium. All these are the secondary meristems. Cork cambium. All these are the secondary meristems which are useful for the increase of the woody stem. They're useful for They're useful for they're nothing but they're helpful for the production of the secondary tissues. Then these permanent tissues. Okay, this is about the meristematic tissues. Okay, this is about the meristematic tissues. The tissues which contain the cells which actively show the cell division. Then permanent tissues are those which stop the cell division and they mature and perform a specific function. And these permanent tissues are of many types. There are simple tissues, complex tissues, simple tissues and complex tissues, and they're present in the epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system, vascular tissue system, like that. Okay, so they're structurally and functionally specialized and lose the ability to divide. What the cells in the permanent tissue? The permanent tissue comprises of the simple tissues, complex tissues, and they are present. These simple and complex tissues are present in epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system, and vascular tissue system. We'll study in detail about all these things. Okay, first we'll study about the simple tissues now. Simple permanent tissues. In simple permanent tissues, three types of tissues are going to come. First is parenchyma. Second is collenchyma. Third is sclerenchyma. What are these? These are the permanent tissues. Means the tissues having the cells losing their ability to divide and perform a specific function. So parenchyma cells are generally oval, spherical, polygonal shape, and they are arranged in such a way they are loosely packed with some intercellular spaces like this. They are loosely packed, sometimes oval, spherical, polygonal. Like this. Okay, these are oval, spherical, many shapes can be there, and these are the intercellular spaces. It is a living tissue, and these parenchyma cells may contain chloroplasts and perform photosynthesis. They may also perform a function of storage and secretion, like that. Then coming on to the collenchyma. This collenchyma, these are also of different shapes are present. But here the corners are thickened because of the deposition of the cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. Okay, so here, like this, the cells are there. Here these corners are thickened because of the deposition of the cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. Like this. So there are no intercellular spaces. They also bear the chloroplasts, which may perform the function of photosynthesis. They provide the main mechanical support. This collenchyma is mainly useful for mechanical support in the growing parts of the young stem and the petiole of the leaf. This is about the collenchyma. Then coming on to sclerenchyma, they are long, narrow cells and thick and lignified cells. Here cellulose and hemicellulose are present. Here these are thin wall. These are thickened corners are present because of the deposition of the cellulose and hemicellulose. Here lignified thick walls are present. It is a dead tissue. Like for example, if you take like this, so somewhat elongated, we can say. Okay, like this. The sclerenchymatus is dead. If you take elongated one, like this, they are dead tissue. Okay, they are dead tissue, and they were without protoplasts. They are present. They are elongated, and the sclerenchyma is mainly useful for mechanical support. They may be of sclerites and fibers. This is about the simple tissues. Coming on to the complex tissues now. Complex permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissues are of two types. Simple tissues means they are having similar structure and function. Simple tissues means similar structure and function. The complex tissues means different types of cells are present in one particular tissue. Like for example, xylem and phloem. Xylem is a vascular tissue. Here different types of cells are present. Vascular tissue, different types of cells are present, and sometimes same function only, but different types of cells are present. Different types of cells are present. Xylem is having what cells? Tracheids are present, vessels are present, xylem parenchyma is present, and xylem fibers are present. If you take tracheids, they are somewhat elongated, like this. They're somewhat elongated one. Then they are the dead tissues. These tracheids are also dead. They are without the protoplasm. And coming on to vessels, vessels are the characteristic feature of angiosperms. In gymnosperms, these vessels are absent. Then these vessels are also devoid of protoplasm. At the same time, tracheids are also devoid of protoplasm. Okay, the xylem is a complex tissue having different types of cells like tracheids, vessels, parenchyma, and fibers. Tracheids and vessels are devoid of protoplasm. Vessels are absent in gymnosperms. They are the characteristic feature of angiosperms. Coming on to fibers, xylem fibers have highly thickened walls. They may be septate or aseptate. Coming on to xylem parenchyma, they are the living tissues, living xylem tissue, which is useful for the conduction of this living tissue, and they're thin walled and they are thin walled. And so all these cells together, they are helpful for the conduction of water. All these four cells together, they form the xylem tissue, which is useful for the radial conduction of water from root to the overall parts of the plant body, or radial conduction of the water to the plant body. That's about the xylem. Coming on to the formation of xylem, there are two types. Okay, the primary xylem are of two types: the protoxylem and metaxylem. The protoxylem and the metaxylem. The protoxylem is the first formed xylem. Then later formed xylem is the metaxylem. So if you take in roots, it is called as exarch xylem. It is exarch xylem. Why? Because it is exarch xylem. Why? Because the protoxylem is towards periphery. And the metaxylem is towards the center. Okay, in roots, exarch xylem is present because the protoxylem is towards periphery and the metaxylem is towards center. But in stem, if you take the transverse section of stem, it is endarch xylem. Why it is endarch xylem? Why? Because the protoxylem is towards center. And the metaxylem is towards the periphery. It is endarch xylem. The primary xylem is of two types: protoxylem and metaxylem. This is about the xylem, complex tissue. Okay, coming on to phloem. Another complex tissue, phloem. Phloem is a vascular tissue. It's a complex tissue. It's a vascular tissue which is useful for the conduction of food materials from the leaves to all the parts of the plant body. Okay, phloem. Okay, so it is this particular phloem is having sieve tube elements, companion cells. These are the different types which are present in the phloem. Companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers. These are the cells which together form the phloem. Okay, so if you take the diagram, Like this it is present. This is the sieve pore. Sieve pore. These are the sieve tube elements. These are the companion cells. These are the phloem parenchyma. So they all together form the conducting tissue, vascular tissue, phloem. These are the sieve pores, like this. Holes are present. So the companion cells. These are the sieve tube elements. Okay, like this they are present. Okay. So in gymnosperms, the sieve cells are present and albuminous cells are present. Whereas in gymnosperms, the sieve tubes and companion cells are absent. The sieve tubes and the companion cells are absent in gymnosperms. Okay. The companion cells help in the maintenance of the pressure gradient. Then phloem parenchyma are elongated and tapering cylindrical structures. This phloem parenchyma is totally absent in monocotyledons. Then phloem fibers, the bast fibers, they are sclerenchymatous cells, and commercially they are used. Commercially the phloem fibers of jute, flax, and hemp are used. Commercial production of these are useful. The jute fibers, flax, hemp fibers are useful. Then here also protophyllum, protophyllum and metaphyllum are present. Protophyllum and metaphyllum are present. The primary phloem consists of the narrow sieve tubes and is referred as protophyllum, and the later formed phloem has bigger sieve tubes and it is referred as metaphyllum. So protophyllum, metaphyllum. Like primary xylem is divided into protoxylem and metaxylem. Here the primary phloem is divided into protophyllum and metaphyllum. The protophyllum is having narrow sieve tubes. The metaphyllum is having the bigger sieve tubes. This is about the phloem now. Coming on to the tissue systems. Epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system, and vascular tissue system. Tissue systems. First, we'll study about the epidermal tissue system. First one. Second one is ground tissue system. Third one is the vascular tissue system. First is epidermal tissue system. The outermost layer having a single layer, sometimes single layered, sometimes multi-layered also. But outermost layer is the epidermis. So this particular epidermis may have cuticle, or may not. Okay, so if you take stem, it was going to have cuticle, but in roots the cuticle is absent. The cuticle is useful to protect the epidermis and also to reduce the transpiration. Okay, so first of all, epidermis is the outermost layer, and this epidermis is going to have epidermal cells, stomata, and trichomes, and hairs also. Epidermal cells, stomata, hairs, and trichomes. This is about the epidermal tissue system. Okay, so epidermal cells are present. They're compactly arranged. Our epidermis is the outermost layer. They're compactly arranged. Then sometimes single layered, sometimes multi-layered. Then outside the epidermis is the cuticle we have discussed. Then in stem and in leaves, this particular epidermis is going to have stomata. Stomata is nothing but they are the openings They are the openings which are useful for the gaseous exchange and transpiration. They are bean-shaped cells. They are they are covered by bean-shaped cells. Covered by bean-shaped cells. So these bean-shaped cells are called as cord cells. The aperture, this particular aperture is called as stoma. And these are covered by the subsidiary cells. These are the subsidiary cells. Okay, these are the subsidiary cells. So the stoma, cord cells and subsidiary cells together form the stomatal apparatus. Stomatal apparatus, which is very much useful for the gaseous exchange and transpiration matter. So these cord cells are bean shaped in dicots, mainly dicots. They are dumbbell shaped. They are dumbbell shaped in case of monocots. Bean shaped in case of dicots, dumbbell shaped in case of monocots. Coming on to the hairs, the root hairs. If you take the epidermis of the roots, they are going to produce the root hairs. These root hairs are useful for the absorption of the water and mineral salts. They are nothing but these root hairs are going to increase the surface area and increase the surface area for water absorption and mineral salts. Coming on to trichomes. Root hairs are unicellular, but trichomes are multicellular. They are useful to reduce the transpiration. They are present on the aerial parts. Trichomes are multicellular. They are useful to trichomes are multicellular and useful to prevent the water loss, to reduce the transpiration rate. That is about the epidermal tissue system. Coming on to the ground tissue system. Ground tissue system is mainly consisting of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. They are going to give the mechanical support. So apart from epidermis and vascular tissue, all are the ground tissue. So ground tissue is nothing but the cortex. This we are going to study now. In the transfer section we are going to come across these terms. So the cortex, pericycle, and all of the medullaries, they all come under the ground tissue. So except the outermost layer of epidermis and vascular tissues, the remaining part is a ground tissue like cortex and pericycle. They are mainly made up of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. That is the ground tissue. Collenchyma and sclerenchyma. These are nothing but the simple tissue. Simple tissues. Permanent tissues, simple tissues. Okay. In permanent tissues, these are the simple tissues. Okay. So, permanent tissues only tissue systems are present. These are the tissue systems. Ground tissues is having the simple permanent tissues. Vascular tissue system is going to have simple tissues. Vascular tissues are going to have complex permanent tissues. Okay. Epidermal tissue system, epidermis, stomata, hairs, trichomes will be coming out. Ground tissue is going to have the simple permanent tissues. Then vascular tissues are going to have the complex permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissues are nothing but the xylem and the phloem. Okay, complex tissues are nothing but the xylem and phloem, which will be forming the vascular tissues. There is a water conducting vascular tissue. There is a food conducting vascular tissue, or you can say together form the vascular bundle. They both together form the vascular bundle. That's a vascular tissue system. Okay, vascular bundle, xylem and phloem together form the vascular bundle. Water vascular tissue, food vascular tissue. And these xylem and phloem may be present on two different radii, on different radii. Such type of vascular bundles are called as radial. Sometimes they may be present on the same radius. This present on the same radius. Such type of vascular bundles are called as conjoined. Okay, when xylem and phloem are present on two different on two different radii. This is phloem, this is xylem. So when they are present on two different radii, such type of vascular bundles are called as radial. They may be present one above the other. This is xylem, this is the phloem. Such type of vascular bundles are called as conjoined. Sometimes what happens, the vascular bundle will be having phloem on either side of the xylem. Phloem on either side of the xylem. Such type of vascular bundles are called as bicollateral vascular bundles, which is a characteristic feature of Solanaceae family members. Okay, the phloem will be located on the outer side of the xylem. This is called as bicollateral vascular bundle. The phloem is present on either side of the xylem. Okay, so this is bicollateral, radial, conjoined, bicollateral. And sometimes what happens in conjoined, the cambium may be present. If the cambium is present in between these things, such type of vascular bundles are called as open. That is a characteristic feature of secondary growth. If the cambium is absent, they are called as closed. Okay, when secondary growth is not present. This is about the tissues. Okay, tissues. So small summary: the tissues are the group of cells having same origin and same function. These tissues are divided into meristematic tissues, and permanent tissues. Okay, so meristematic tissues, they are going to undergo continuous division. They are divided into primary meristem, secondary meristem. The primary meristems are again divided into apical meristem and intercalary meristem. The secondary meristems are present in the secondary growth. That is for the secondary growth. That is about the meristematic tissues. Coming on to permanent tissues are again divided into simple and complex tissues. So simple tissues are again divided into parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. The complex tissues are nothing but permanent tissues are nothing but xylem and phloem. Then we have studied about the tissue system. Tissue systems: epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system, and vascular tissue system. Thank you.